Hello and welcome. This is the first in our video series as we enter into a brand new chapter. We're entering into chapter 11, which is immunity. Once again, I'm Miss Delia and let us go into the lessons for today. So for chapter 11, it will be divided into 6 subtopics and this video series will be divided into 6 separate videos. So I hope you're able to tune in and learn something from each of these lessons. So without further ado, let's go into the very first subtopic. We go into 11.1, which is immune response. So the learning objective for this first subtopic is first to define immunity and second to describe the types of immunity, which are innate and adaptive immunity. So this subtopic is more of an introduction and it might be things that you've already learned about before. Now let's look at the definition of immunity. So these are two definitions that we tend to use. The first is from Solomon. Immunity can be defined as the ability to recognize and destroy foreign or dangerous macromolecules. So apa-apa molekul besar daripada luar badan kita, molekul besar yang asing, keupayaan badan kita untuk mengenal pasti dan untuk memusnahkan molekul asing tersebut, itulah immunity. So that was the breakdown in Malay. What is the first definition? The second definition, we can define immunity as the resistance to a particular pathogen or to their toxins or metabolic byproducts. So how well we can resist a certain virus or bacteria, or how well we can resist their enzymes, their proteins, anything that they produce that can also be defined as immunity. So this one is a definition from Shear et al. That is from the Human Anatomy and Physiology textbook. So kalau kita ikut definition yang kedua ini, immunity kita boleh anggap sebagai keupayaan badan kita untuk menangkis atau menahan sesuatu kuman, sesuatu pathogen, ataupun bahan-bahan toksin atau bahan-bahan kumbahan yang dihasilkan oleh pathogen tersebut. So it can be immunity towards virus, immunity towards bacteria, immunity towards fungi, or it can be immunity towards even just pollen or any molecule from outside of our body. Okay, so those were the definitions. Now we look at the types of immunity. When it comes to immunity, we divide it into two main types. The first is innate immunity, also called as non-specific immune response. This would consist of your barrier defense and your internal defense. So your skin and the mucous lining that is preventing outside molecules from entering into your body, those are barrier defense, and internal defense are white blood cells that will do phagocytosis, that are constantly moving around in your body and they can capture anything that is not part of your body. The second type of immunity is adaptive immunity. This is also called as the specific immune response. So when we turn on our adaptive immunity, we are actually targeting specific pathogen or specific antigens in our body. We can further divide adaptive immunity into humoral immune response and cell-mediated immune response. Untuk adaptive immunity, dia adalah lebih spesifik dan lebih berkesan kalau kita ada infection yang teruk. Dan kita akan tengok dengan lebih teliti humoral immune response dengan cell-mediated immune response dalam 11.4. So this is more illustrations to kind of show the two types of immunity that I spoke about earlier. So we have our visual example of what the barrier defense is. And we have some visual example of what the internal defense is. This is a diagram illustrating adaptive immunity. So ini adalah diagram lama. Nanti kita akan tengok lagi version diagram baru. Dan ini kita akan tengok dalam 11.4 lah. So we'll focus on this in the later subtopics. So this is another diagram to show what happens if your body is invaded by pathogens, the rapid response or the immediate yang laju betul punya response, that is done by non-specific immune response, which is first line of defense, second line of defense. The immune response that is very efficient but requires several hours to several days, that is the adaptive immune response. It is your third line of defense. So that is cell-mediated immune response and antibody-mediated immune response. Okay, so this is just more of the same thing. But when we talk about immunity, we can also talk about acquired immunity. So ada immunity yang memang natural, ada dalam badan kita, ada immunity yang kita dapat daripada persekitaran. So how you acquire your immunity? Macam mana kamu boleh dapat immunity kepada sesuatu kuman, sesuatu pathogen itu? You can acquire immunity through active means or passive means. Kita boleh dapat melalui cara aktif atau cara pasif. Kalau cara aktif, yang semula jadi, the natural active immunity, is when you develop antibodies in response to an infection. So maybe today you get an infection, but within 1 week your body creates its own antibodies, and then with the second infection, okay, maybe 3 weeks from now, you get another infection and your body would naturally produce even more of those antibodies and you will have immunity to that pathogen. So, dapat jangkitan secara semula jadi, itu adalah natural active immunity. Ada juga artificial active immunity. Artificial active immunity is a vaccine. We use the vaccine to introduce our body to pathogen, and that way our body will synthesize its own antibodies. Passive immunity pula, ini adalah kita dapat immunity dengan cara pasif, kita diberi antibody oleh orang lain ataupun situasi lain. So when we talk about natural passive immunity, we get the antibodies. We don't take the pathogen. We get the antibodies. That is through breast milk. So why is it so important for mothers to breastfeed newborns? Because newborns don't have enough antibodies in their own body. So antibodies from the mother's breast milk will be given to the baby through natural breastfeeding. We also have artificial passive immunity. So this is when your health may be in a very bad state, you've already received a very bad level of infection. So instead of giving you a vaccine, hospitals may provide you with antibodies. So they give you the antibody molecule directly into your bloodstream. That is artificial passive immunity. Okay, that is it when it comes to 11.1. I hope you learned something new. If not, that's okay. Maybe you've already learned all this stuff before, and I will see you again in the next video. See you soon. Ta-ta!